Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Managing Grief with Mindfulness as part of the Good Grief Festival. I'm reading some of this on the side. So, just to let you know, this session is being recorded and will be available in the Good Grief channel after the festival. During the session, we're going to be doing some meditations. We're going to be doing practice of two different practices. And the invitation is always to treat them as an invitation. You know, if you want to step out at any time or leave at any time, that's totally fine. Being gentle with yourself is a big part of mindfulness. And joining us in the background from the Good Grief Festival is Joe, one of the team, and you may hear from him from time to time. He'll be running there's a Q&A section that you'll notice at the bottom of your screens. So if you have any feedback or questions, just type in the Q&A session in that bit there. I'll actually be inviting feedback at different times during the session. So do feel free to type away. So we'll be managing that. Okay, so let's begin. I want to just say again, my name's Neil Morbey. I run a company called Positively Mindfulness. My passion to help people to have more peace in their lives, less stress, to come into their body, connect to their bodies, befriend themselves. And it's something I've been working on for the last 6 years. And in this session, we're going to look at how we can manage our grief and, in fact, any pain, any discomfort with mindfulness practice. And so the two practices that I'm going to introduce the first practice is what we might call a grounding practice. When we feel like stressed or panicked or overwhelmed, we can ground back into the present moment using our 5 senses. And I'll talk about that in more detail in just a moment. The second practice we're going to do is a meditation using what we might call pendulation. And this is a term derived from a somatic experiencing practitioner called Peter Levine. Pendulation is moving from a resource, a sense of ease and pleasure, and then into the challenge, the difficulty, the pain, and learning to switch and move between these two gives us a way of managing, of coping. Both of these practices, in a way, are ways that we can actually feel and also step out of that feeling space. Because I think it's important that we are able to feel, we're able to raise our awareness, which is what mindfulness is, but we also want to be able to allow and accept. And that means sometimes our capacity isn't there. So we have to be able to step out and we have to be able to resource ourselves. So with that, if anyone's got any questions, do remember, feel free to type them in the Q&A. Just type on that now just to see what happens. No questions. Great. Okay, so we're going to begin with our first practice. And as part of this, I'm just going to share a screen just to show you what this might look like. So bear with me for one moment. I just start that. You'll see a blank screen for a moment, and then you'll see me with a white screen share. There we go. I'm just going to click over to the slides that I've got. So welcome. This is the first slide. And this is our grounding practice. So you'll see 5 symbols on the screen. And grounding, if you're in a panic or having a panic attack or any kind of like strong sensation, this is what I recommend. First of all, finding a nice place to sit that's safe. If you're really having a panic, the safest place to be is on the floor against the wall, because then if you pass out, you'll be okay. And we're going to start this practice, as with any of these practices, with one of our most powerful tools, which is the breath. I call the breath the power tool. By breathing out slowly, we're actually regulating our nervous system, we're calming it. And then we're going to go into a practice of naming 5 things we see, 4 things we can touch, 3 things we can hear, 2 things we can smell, and then I'll save the last one as one thing. So let's begin now. I'm going to come back to me. And you'll see me now again. And you might see a little dialog box. There we go, just this. So let's begin our little anti-panic, our little grounding. So I'd like to invite you now to close your eyes and just take a few nice deep breaths into a soft belly and long, slow out breaths. And if you want, you can count 5 in your mind. Let's do a couple more of those. You'll notice I'm breathing in through my nose and out through my mouth. This is again a little extra detail to bring in that calming effect. So one more, please. So opening your eyes and just have a little look around, and we're going to name some objects. You can do this out loud. That's actually quite powerful, or just in your mind. But I'd like you to describe. For example, I see a blue ukulele. It's got white strings and white little screw things at the top. So color and description. See it. So keep going with that. I'll give you some space now to do that. I'll do Great. I'm going to bring that slide back up just so we move into the next one. So maybe you describe 5 things you can see. And next we're going to start to look at the screen first. We're going to look at 4 things you can touch. So you don't have to describe so much this time, but as you pick up the objects that you might touch, or you maybe I'm just starting from my jeans, give yourself a bit of extra time to actually enjoy, find something in it that's interesting or that you enjoy. So I'm finding the seam of my jeans. I'm just going to rub them for a little bit and just maybe close the eyes, do that, and then change to a very different object. So I'm going for paper and a clipboard now. You can feel the metal clasp of the clipboard. So just doing this for 4 different objects. You can do your own skin as well. Feel the coolness of my skin. If any time you want to take a deeper breath, that's going to help you to come back into the nervous system, into a calmer nervous. So then we're going to go to 3 things we can hear. 3 things we can hear. This is what you can hear now. So I'm going to be quiet for a moment. Really listen to the furthest things away that you can hear. Might have to take your earphones out for this. If you live in a very quiet area, it might be tricky. You have to really listen. And if you live in a louder area, see if what the furthest thing away as you can find beyond the other noises, the other sounds. Okay, 2 things. 2 things that we can touch. Sorry, 2 things that we can smell. We've done touch. So I like to pick up an object, like, can you smell and stay with it for a little bit longer? Close your eyes. And some things you might be surprised they have smells, like clothing or my phone or something that may be a bit of a surprise. 2 things. Paper smell. Not much. Okay, and then last but not least, the last one. So internal. What can you feel internally? And for this what I like to do is to feel maybe is there something that my body really wants to do to move. So I noticed that my body wants to have a big stretch. So this is the last one, is maybe just move your body in a way that feels right, feels good. Okay. Okay, so this is our grounding practice. And I want you to use this. We slowed it down quite a lot because it's our first time doing it. I want you to use this anytime that you notice that you get overwhelmed or panicked too much. Using this grounding practice can really help. It's a great thing to do with people who are experiencing panic attacks, experiencing a lot of overwhelm. So if I'm in my work and I'm experiencing that overwhelm, I'll try to come back to myself, come back to my surroundings, and especially outside in nature. It's an absolutely wonderful thing to do. If you're out on a walk, just stop and actually look around, describe some things you can see, touch some things, pick up some leaves, crunch them in your hand. It's a great time of year for crunching leaves. Start to smell the air, listen to the sounds. And then this movement practice is, again, it's something. Feelings are there to identify our needs. What is it that we need? And the more we build up this practice of becoming familiar with our body, there's two things that it does. The first thing is it builds up our neuroception, our awareness of our needs. Thank you. Our awareness of our needs. So thank you for that comment about the black screen. It's because I pressed the Q&A button and the box hadn't disappeared. And the second thing it does is it allows us to actually become more able to sit with our discomforts. So we don't have to get rid of them or solve them straight away. It allows us to sit with and be okay with some discomfort. And for me, this has been a really powerful thing because of my journey around grief was around my spine. Experienced a spinal operation at an early age and some loss of mobility. And there was pain, physical pain, and there was emotional pain. And for me, sitting with both those pains, those different types of pain, first of all, made it almost worse because you know, to experience pain, it's like, ouch, it's really overwhelming. But the more I did it, the more it moved from being overwhelming into gradually okay. And then once the body feels like it can relax whilst being with something, healing can happen. So it became actually quite enjoyable. And then it kind of drifted away. So pain can come, but then pain can be released. It can go, and the body heals naturally. A friend of mine has this expression that we need to feel to heal. That feeling has to be dealt with in a way where we can step into and we can step out of control, choice. And so this is why we do the grounding practice, to have some choice, to calm our nervous system. So now I'm going to just quickly check the Q&A again. Nothing there. We're going to go into a practice of meditation. So meditation is just a tool. It's a tool for helping us to connect to the present moment, to connect to what's here, what's alive inside of us. It's a tool I use every single day, and it's just like brushing our teeth. We brush our teeth regularly for short periods. And in that way, meditation is really powerful for building up this connection to ourselves, keeping that, maintaining this calm sense of ourselves. And within this meditation, I'm going to use some tools called pendulation that I talked about before, where we're going to switch between them. So maybe you don't know what you're feeling right now. So this is a good way to check in. I'd like to encourage you to sit up in a nice upright position. Just be a bit more deliberate about it. So you might just roll the shoulders a little bit, or the neck, or do whatever feels right. I'm going to be inviting you to sit still, but at the same time, it's okay to move. You need to move. And in fact, if an emotion wants you to move, I encourage you to experiment a little bit, to move with it. I often try and lighten our idea of meditation by seeing it as a playful meditation and experimentation, getting curious. But this curiosity is tinged with compassion. It doesn't matter. There's no real right or wrong. We're coming into this with an open mind, curious. So I'm noticing I feel quite nervous. It's quite interesting talking to a screen, to myself. And so I feel that in my chest. So I'm going to be with that nervousness. So I want you to check in now. Maybe there's an area of your body that feels uncomfortable. Maybe there's an emotion that feels uncomfortable. Maybe you're not sure. So I'll give you a moment to check that. And then after that, it's just maybe there's some parts of your body, just have a little think around your body, a little awareness. Is there something that feels really comfortable, really easy, really quite nice? So for me, I'm really noticing this, the way I'm sitting is nice and cozy on my bum, on the back of my legs. And even my lower back feels really supported. So it's quite a pleasant feeling. If you're struggling with that, some areas that really are quite easy often are like our hands can be, there's lots of senses in the hands, and there can be a sense of ease there sometimes with feet. Even if it's a really small area, the knees, the elbows, they're okay. There's an ease there. So we're going to begin now. And with every meditation, I like to begin with using my power tools, the breath. It's a powerful way of regulating our nervous system. And I like to close my eyes, have these little cocoons for my eyes, looking into the blackness. And then I'm going to encourage you to take a few nice, slow belly breaths. Let the belly be soft and long, slow. Even longer each out through the mouth, in through the nose. As you breathe out, you might release some tension in the face and shoulders. You might notice that the breath is maybe jagged or shallow, difficult to control. So if that's the case, just bring in a couple more. And then when you're ready, allow the natural breath to take over. So we're looking into the black behind the eyelids. You can hear the sounds around us. You can feel our body sitting, clothing, temperature on the skin. And you might notice from time to time the mind has some images, some memories, some thoughts, some words. And instead of punishing ourselves for thinking, getting angry with the mind, the tool I always use in this is to thank them for these little fantastic information. So whenever you notice your mind doing, taking the attention away from the body and away from the present, I'd like you to say out loud or in your mind, thank you, Mom. If it's got a bit of information that's repeated, an email, or appointment, thank you, mind, for that email. Take a breath. Come back into the body, the eyelids, breath, chest, And I'd like you now to find that place in your body that feels a bit uncomfortable. See if you can bring your attention to it with this compassionate feel. Maybe imagine a short outline of that area. How big is it? Maybe it's got a kind of color or a temperature. Have a movement, either in its very small area or in maybe in the whole body. It has an urge for the body to move, play around with. Has it got a shape or a texture? So I like to then pendulate, like a pendulum, swing over to a different part. So this part of the body we're going to go to is the resource, sense of ease, comfort, warmth. So I'm bringing my attention now down to my legs, wherever you are in your body, it feels kind of okay, kind of nice. You may still feel some of the discomfort. That's okay. See if you can now scribe around that comfortable. Give it a color. Has it got a movement or a texture, form? Notice what happens when you stay with that area with your attention, really exploring it with the mind's eye. And maybe you want to go a little wider with your exploration to the adjoining areas. For me, that's the legs and the lower back. It's almost as if this warm, comfortable area can spread a little bit. Now, they say that pain is manageable when we choose to embrace it, so we choose to explore it. So let's make that choice now. Let's pendulate back into that area of discomfort. Maybe it's changed. Maybe it's got bigger. Whatever's happening, let's see if we can allow ourselves to be curious and compassionate. And again, find that shape, texture, and movement. Mindfulness is about awareness, and it's also about allowing, allowing for a brief period of time this to be. It's okay that this is here right now. The more we allow, the more things can change and flow. The breath can help us to. If it becomes too overwhelming at any time, you have the choice. Pendulate back to the other area. Let's try that now. Step back. And if it becomes too overwhelming altogether, you can come back to the grounding exercise. Open your eyes, name some things, touch some objects. We always have this choice of how we use our attention. I want to encourage you now to stay with that comfort area just for a few moments. Perhaps there's still emotion, and that can be there in the background. The tears can come, the frustrations can come, thoughts and images, memories. Thank you, mind. And then we bring our attention to this soft, warm feeling, wherever it is in your body. Give it a go. With practice, our brains change. We're rewiring the brain right now through deliberate practice. It's like going to the gym. We practice well with gentleness. We don't force ourselves. That would cause an injury. Instead, we practice just a little bit and then a little bit more, finding our edge, finding our comfort. So pendulating back one more time to the area of discomfort. You can choose to move with it, open your eyes, and close, deep as you choose. Notice how it becomes gradually easier. Or maybe it doesn't. Just notice how that is. Allowing whatever's happening to happen as you stay connected to the body. There's a resistance, there's a challenge. What's it like? Where is it in the body? It's changed and morphed. And when you're ready, let's pendulate back to the comfortable area. Get an awareness of the state of the body as you move your attention from one place to another. Little changes that happen, little relaxations, little tensions. Mind will, of course, do its job as the brain conjures up these fantastic thoughts and images. Thank you, mind. Okay, so we have the choice now. We have the choice where to place our attention. See what happens now as you play. a lot of like moving the attention between these areas, or maybe you want to go to a different area of the body just for an experimentation. What's it like in your fingertips or your toes? How is the breath right now? Noticing the rhythm and the size of the breath. If there's still that discomfort, maybe it's really challenging. An additional tool we can use is to maybe imagine it as an object or an animal. So feel free to play along with this one. It's got a color, it's got a simple object. You have an object. And imagine changing the size of that object. Make it twice the size, 3 times, 10 times the size. Notice how that is. Or maybe shrink it down so it's small, the size of a teeny tiny object, tiny as a molecule. Maybe let it be placed in a different location. You could even place it outside the body, next to you. Throughout these playful experimentations, keep this connection with the body. If you lose it at any time, that's okay. Just bring that attention internal, the black behind the eyes, the breath moving in the belly and chest. So we're going to spend a couple more minutes now just allowing this experimentation, playful attention. Using the breath, using the changing the location of awareness to help us be with what's here, and allowing I like to end my meditations by widening that awareness. So I'd like you now to see if you can have a sense of the whole body, letting go of images and practices and just being aware of this whole body sat here, clothes, skin, sounds, letting everything wash through you and around you. And gradually opening your eyes, maintaining this little sense of connection as you look around. Look around the space. Maybe now is a good time. You notice you want to move in a certain way. Need need for movement, need for thirst. You want to drink. Just keep it slow and enjoy those things. Maybe have some thoughts. And often I find after a meditation, the mind's a little clearer. But there's something that's quite interesting there. Thank you for that about the audio quality. So, kind of go closer to the microphone. Maybe that helps. So maybe you've got some thoughts, write them down, and this looks a good time to share. So, was there any challenges in that? What did you notice as you moved your attention from one thing to another? So for me, I'll just share something. I noticed I had this kind of jitteriness here, and I almost imagined it like a snake, a rattlesnake, and it's quite cold initially, and it hadn't affected my breath. So really noticing it, staying with it, playing with the size, actually made it slow down and calm down. Like I imagined it almost sleeping, and the warmth under my legs felt really just cozy. Just cozy. I had a kind of dark red color with that, and that helped me to kind of feel a bit calmer. And I still feel a little bit of this in my chest, but it's okay. It's there. My breath is more calm and more light. Hmm. So maybe you want to notice and maybe share anything that came up for you during that. I was going to see if there's anything on the QA. Just typing something you noticed. And if you have any questions about that practice or mindfulness in general, do feel free to type a question. Check the sound still working. Yeah. So just taking a moment to reflect for yourself. Like, oh, what's that like for me? That practice. What came up for me? Do I have any questions? I'm just going to give you a few moments with that. Okay, I've got the chat box here. Um, is there a specific length of time to do this exercise well, or could it just be a few minutes? Good question. Thank you for that. So, yeah, I think this practice doesn't have to be a long time. This is where experimentation is key because everybody's different. And I like to do when I teach meditation, the shortest I'll teach is about 5 minutes. Um, the average I'll teach is around 10 to 15 minutes. When I meditate myself in the morning, I like to meditate for around 15 minutes, but it changed depending on how I feel. So I hope that answers that question. Somebody said, I feel soft and warm and comforted now. Thank you. Yeah, great. I'm really happy that helped. That helped you feel that comfort. Um, Thank you. I felt like it released a lot of blocked energy. Helpful to switch between the discomfort and the comfort. Yeah. Yeah, I feel that for myself as well. That switching, it gives me a sense of comfort, control. I found the practice very soothing. Had a lot of tension around my chest and shoulders, which I have released. Right. I think one of the biggest practices we can do for ourselves is to become aware of tension and then to relax that tension, which is a skill. It's a skill that we can practice. Got a QA question now that just come up. So I'm just going to have a look at that. My neck and shoulders are incredibly stiff today. I'm wondering if this is connected to grief. Daughter and boyfriend died suddenly 6 years ago. Tomorrow, 7 months after my husband died. So quite a difficult time. Yeah, but it helps that I'm still quite a lot of pain. Thank you for that question. I'm going to answer live. So yeah, I think each of us carries our tension and our pain in different areas of our body. It's very unique. And this is a way in which we can connect somatically. Somatic just simply means in the body, to the memories, to the grief of what's there. I noticed in times of my life, my jaw had something there, and it was connected to memory. It was connected to some trauma that's happened in the past. And my shoulders, yeah, good noticing about the shoulders. In order to help us to release that, we have to first of all allow it to be there and to give it some space. It might well be to do with grief. Now, when it comes to shoulders as well, specifically, and I like to, you might choose to play with this a little bit with me. And this is from an Alexander technique, they call it. Instead of stretching, what we can do is actually make it bigger. So make the actual stiffness bigger to bring the shoulders right up to the ears, and see what happens if you hold it and you really let yourself become aware of how much work it takes, how effortful it is to hold these shoulders like this. Hold them there. Really breathe with that difficulty. And then as you release them, do it really slowly. So we can do it on a count of 10 down to its now relaxed position. So we're going to go 10, 9, really slowly, 8, 7, 6. And it might be difficult. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just noticing how that is. Take a breath. So it's the sitting with, the playing with. Well, I use this word playing a lot because when we play, there's an experimental quality to it. We are allowing things to be there and we are curious about them. So I'm curious how that was to play with that. I'm just looking at the different things coming up on the screen now. Going back to the chat room. Great. Yeah, so if anyone else has got any other comments or questions, please do feel free. When you're doing this alone, unguided, how can you bring it to an end? You see what I mean? So yes, great question. So I guided you today, but I use a timer whenever I meditate. I like to be able to have a clear definition for a stop. Now, you're right, like sometimes these things can bleed into our day. Sorry, the chat box might be in my way. So it is tricky. That's why I like to end the meditation with some movement practice. So I'm sat on a seat in front of a screen right now, but if I was doing this with you in person, I'd also say, let's get up now and have a little stretch. Let's move from where we are. So beginning and end the practice with some movement is a really great way of then moving out into something else. Sometimes though, it's really helpful to get a journal out and just write a couple of things down as well, just to end the practice with some reflections. Going to get back to the chat. Hope that helped. My chiropractor told me that tensing the shoulders like this is the best way of releasing tension. Stiffness, it lasts longer than stretching. Yeah, that's been my experience as well. I've done a lot of attempts at stretching and it hasn't really alleviated that much. It's very short term, whereas it's a control of, I can allow myself to be stiff. I can allow myself to, and then I can relax slowly. This feeling of being in more control, it gives us a sense of safety. And that's the psychological side to it. It's like the sense of safety. Does it help to breathe into the pain area? Yeah, breathing. I'm going to answer that one live. Breathing is our power tool. It's amazing. It's an amazing thing, using our breath consciously. It's the one thing of our autonomic nervous system that we can control. So breathing into pain, you can even use your imagination to breathe in warming light and then breathe out the pain. So breathing into pain is a great practice. Thank you for raising that. And then someone said, I found this helpful. Thank you. So, any other questions or comments are welcome. I've got one in the chat. Thank you for that guided practice. I felt soothing and containing, but I had shifts between feeling present and finding myself distracted, moving from discomfort and pain, an opportunity for self-compassion. Yes, 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 yes. So my friend Jamie Catter actually told me this. He said, being mindful, being present, it's not a constant thing. You're going to get distracted because you've got this fantastic brain, which is always looking for safety and it's always kind of creative. It's kind of think about things, problem solving. So you're going to be taken away from the present moment. It's like trying to ride a rodeo horse covered in Vaseline. You're going to stay on it for a few seconds at first, but then you're going to fall. And that's okay. So yeah, that compassion is the extra. It helps us to go, oh, that's okay. Get back on. And it's going to happen many times. Okay, we're going to have one more look at the chat box. And then I'm going to finish off with a little grounding again. So my parents both died from COVID and grieving. Is there anything different when meditating for grief? Anything specific to say? Beautiful question. Thank you for that. Pardon me. Yeah, I think what we're experiencing here is a lot of different things: pain, emotion, stories in the mind. Compassion, self-forgiveness is like our cornerstone. So the mind has this stuff. Thank you, mind. You're so welcome, mind. I love you, mind. I do a whole nother meditation around love. Like there is a love in us. The reason that we are grieving is that grief is the price for love. It is the cost. So if we've loved someone, the grief is almost the measure of that. It's like, wow, there was a lot of love. So in our meditation practice, we come back into that loving feeling, that sense of, oh yeah, this is painful. It's really difficult. And so instead of now loving externally, we're loving internally. We're connecting back to ourselves. And I think in terms of meditation specifically for grief, I think all this stuff is linked. It's all pain. It's all internal pain. Anything that we see externally that's happening, situations in the world, it could be the grief of losing an incredibly close loved one. It could be the grief of a change in circumstances. It could be a potential loss that might happen. It's all felt here. It's all in you. So it's not about the external situation so much. It's about how we're relating to ourselves. Can we love ourselves through this? Can we allow this feeling, which is temporary, to be felt? I've got a couple more things. So thank you for that question. I hope that answer was maybe not too vague. Great. So there's some beautiful sharings in this chat box, and I'm really glad that it helps something. And remember that it's a practice. So one practice it's not a silver bullet. It's not going to make things go away. In fact, that's not our goal, to make things go. Our goal is to connect with them from a place of love, a place of compassion, a place of resource. Inside all of us, there is this incredibly wise, loving elder, and it's been built up through all our experiences. And we're able to connect with that by using our breath, calming the nervous system down, and then by using our attention in a compassionate and curious way, playful. Meditating with other people can be really powerful. I do not think meditation is a cure. It is a way of connecting. It is a tool. Ultimately, we want to be able to share and express and be with other people, because that is going to be probably one of the most healing things we can do, is to share ourselves, express ourselves with others. So use this as a way to find out what's going on and to find some courage so that we can express. We don't want to spend our whole lives meditating. Yeah. All right. So thank you so much for this, Neil, and for answering my questions. That found it very helpful. Great. So I'm just going to share last couple of little slides now. Where are we? Share screen. And we'll just do one short little tiny practice. Someone asked about how long, to do a practice, and we'll show that we can even do even a short practice can be really powerful. So we'll do that in just a moment. Just trying to find the screen setting. Okay, so this is about pendulation, moving from resource and then into the trauma. And then this last slide is just a couple of invitations. If you do want to do meditation more, I do it on a Monday. Every Monday, 6 till 7. It's donation based. And I'm doing a course coming up soon, and it's going to be both live in person in Bristol on a Thursday evening. And it's also going to be streamed and recorded. So if you'd like to do a 6-week course in resilience, and I use this word resilience because our goal is not to get rid of emotions; it's to channel them, is to learn to be with them and be resilient. And we get resilience not through pushing them away, although that can be. There are times when we need to do that, but actually learning how to give them space and how to challenge the stories of the mind that bring us back into pain so we can let go of the stories of the mind. Yeah. So that's my course offers. Okay, so we're just going to finish up now. Just going to check the QA one more time. That's fine. I'm going to check the chat one more time. Thank you so much for the comments. So let's finish now with just a really brief, maybe one of my favorites is the I love you meditation. I'm just going to do this one with you and see what it stimulates. It might be too hard. So let's get a nice more formal position in our bodies. Roll the neck, adjust the shoulders. Nice deep breaths to begin every meditation. 3 slow out breaths. And as you do this, I'd like you now to bring a hand onto your belly and a hand onto your chest. Feel yourself breathing. You are both the one being held by these hands and the one holding. And just thinking the thought now, this very simple thought with every out breath, I love you. Just think that thought. I love you. You might add your name to it. It might make you cry. It might make you feel resistance or grumpiness. Just love that too. I like to add a little smile to my mouth. That's the little one. And then we're going to bring that I love yous into different parts of our body. And we're only going to have a couple of minutes here. So we're just going to go straight to the heart of things. Go straight to our heart. I love you, heart. Just say those words in your mind with every out breath. I love you, heart. Two more of those. And then take one last deep breath. Bring your hands into prayer position over your heart. Drop the head, bow the head. Thank yourself for just taking that little moment. Thank this incredible body it's just doing wonders for you every day. And these emotions are a part of the genius of the body, even though they seem sometimes like they get in the way. So just thanking the body. Okay, so that's it from me for the day. Everyone's leaving now anyway, off to the next event. Oh, that's it. We're all gone. So thank you everyone for coming, and do get in touch if you need anything.